Okay, this is a very spontaneous connection with somebody that had a big Twitter following, including many of the people around the president, the last president, and also I think we're both following Phil McConnell at one point. And we connected on Facebook, and although we've never spoken before, I just felt kind of prompting of the Holy Spirit to just say hi. So this is just a connection. The video quality is not great on my guest side, but hopefully the audio will be good. I'll turn that up actually on my end. Yeah, so I'm going to let you introduce yourself because I don't even know your real name. If you want to give your real name, just introduce yourself because I'm new to a lot of this as well.
Okay. To be honest with you, anybody that's listening to this and goes and checks the facts, they should be able to identify me within about 3.5 seconds. When I was 12 years of age, I used to deliver milk and newspapers to Donald Trump's mother's house in TONG in the Isle of Lewis, the Outer Hebrides. And I know all his uncles and aunties, I know his cousins, and they were my kith and kin because I'm a quarter blood MacLeod in my own lineage back to the day, but that's the respective. But yeah, I came from a fairly remote Scottish island called the Isle of Lewis. And my first memory was seeing a cow from a boat on top of a cliff. And then my second memory was seeing a boat called the Morning Cloud parked in the loch.
Wow.
Which was the village was named. Yeah, Angela, again, see, I'm getting straight to it here. And I'm not going to name names because, you know, you can do the math. But this boat called the Morning Cloud pulled into the bay, and he went to visit a guy that had a holiday home in my village. You're from Ireland, you know the whole thing about the holiday homes of the rich and famous. And this guy was he still is, well, his family still is a major contributor to the Labour Party. Now, that confused me because the guy that owned the Morning Cloud, he wasn't a Labourite, but he came to stay with an Irishman called Faulkner. Oh, did I say the name? Well, anyway, long story short, a 14-year-old girl from our village of 30 houses, she vanished without trace.
Oh, God.
And no, Angela, it gets better. It turned out that she worked for Esther Ranson as a nanny for the next 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah. She was 14. She left school, didn't get her O-levels, didn't get her A-levels. She worked for Esther Ranson for the next 25 years. So
and that's confirmed. She confirmed she was the same missing girl that popped up as Esther Ranson's nanny.
She was never missing. Her family knew where she went.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, okay, so by the time I was 12, I'd left London. I got on a train with 78 pence in my pocket in 1979, and I arrived down in London, and I went to the BBC studios to tell them that Jimmy Savile was a weird cunt. Oh, sorry, bad language, forgive me. So anyway, that's when I was 12. They put me on a plane back.
Wow. Look at the courage of that. I just have to slow you down there. And I'm going to say Ted Heath. Everybody knows who owned the Morning Cloud, many of them.
Yeah, the MI5 blew up the third one.
There were 17 credible witnesses unrelated to each other that went forward to Mike Veal's investigation. And he said, based on just the preliminary evidence, he absolutely would have been arrested for questioning under caution. So, but imagine how many cowards were around Savile in the BBC and in his different capacities.
Yeah.
And a 12-year-old boy gets the train to London to say something's up here. That's amazing.
Again, my darling, all I can say, when I was 5, I used to bring out glasses of water for a guy called Donald Stewart, and Donald Stewart ran the SNP. He's the one that created the SNP before Winnie Ewing and Nelson Mandela and Alex Salmond and all them came into being. And his name was Donald Stewart. He lived in a village called Kyo's on the same island as me. And him and my granddad were good pals. My granddad, he was a submariner in the First World War. He was a sheep farmer in the Falklands. He'd worked on the whaling ships in South Georgia. He'd gone from Patagonia right the way up to Mexico working as a gaucho. And he traveled the world. He came back. He produced 8 beautiful children. And he died at 95 on Monday, the 5th of August, 1975, about 1:10.
Wow.
Yeah. So he gave me a sense of adventure that there was still something left in this world to go out and find. And we didn't have television. They came and put in a television mast in 1976. It lasted for about four months, and then the wind blew over.
Probably a blessing in disguise.
They installed it. In fact, they installed it in 2 years. It took them another 4 years to put it back up. But by which time, I mean, no, I used to go to school. There was 40 of us, and I used to go to school and I'd hear about this. Hey, did you watch the sale of the century? They got a car. And I'm thinking, how the hell do you get a car through this thing called television? You know, I was like totally confused. So anyway, like I said, I ended up emigrating from the Outer Hebrides. And in December 1979, I had the unfortunate privilege to be in Gordonston basement in a disco with Prince Edward and a whole bunch of other dignitaries that I'm not going to name, but he was there with his henchmen and so on and so forth. And I was 12, 5'10", blue-eyed, blonde hair, all my teeth. And anyway, I was saved by the daughter of the guy who was running Shell back in those days. Otherwise, I'd have been completely buggered, if you get me. And yeah, they did. It turned. You remember the tune "Tangerine Dream" back in the day? I was there. We were dancing. I was given a drink, and then all of a sudden, it turned into Tangerine Dream. Yeah, it was like acid. It was like ecstasy. It was whatever it was. And then a couple of months later, Betty Cameron, who was 13, she ended up pregnant with twins. And there's petrol receipts from the Andrew Thompson house in Elgin, Duffus Road. I can name the names. I can name the. I do like that's what I'm saying, my dear. Yeah, been there, done it, got the T-shirt, and the amount of people that I grew up with that are no longer existing. They're not on Facebook. They're not on LinkedIn. They just vanished off the planet. I mean, we would. I ended up getting put from there into another children's home, in a place called Dufton, the heart of the whiskey distillery lands up in the Highlands, and I can name names that. I would wake up in the morning, oh, Ted got transferred to somewhere else. I don't know what Ted had done, because he was an Australian dude. And he was my friend. We chopped down trees together, like, you know, as you do as you're 12 years of age to, like, you know, prove your lumberjack and manhood and all that kind of stuff. I woke up one day, he was gone. Michael Kernigan, another little blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy from Dundee, about 5'4". He wasn't even 5 foot, you know. He ran away one day. I went and brought him back. The next day, he vanished. He's never been seen again. Doesn't exist.
Yeah, I've heard stories like that. There's an author called, a survivor called Barbara O'Hare, and she's had a bestseller for 5 years in her category. She wrote about being offered a special deal to go into child psychiatric hospital, and she reported, and other children's home survivors have reported that people would go missing, and the other children would just be told, "Oh, he's been transferred." You know, and it was kind of like a ghost train to nowhere.
Angela, again, like I said, I know I could name 15 or 17, and if anybody does want to like call me up on that, please do, because it's true. And long story short, I went from there to there to there, and I ended up being the only person in Scotland, well, two. Once in 1927, a child under 16 was put into an adult prison. I was the second one, although I hadn't committed any heinous crimes. They took me back. The time I ran away, they took me back. I went to go and see this woman called Mary Black, psychologist, psychiatrist, child psychologist, did the IQ tests, and then they threw me into a children's home. 10 o'clock that night, I was out the window and off again, because I was alive. I was uncontainable, and I knew more about reality than most people that pay taxes and listen to the government, because I knew that was all a fabrication.
Can I just slow you down and find out, when did you first get put into a children's home? You ran away at 12 to tell the BBC about Jimmy Savile. Did anybody listen to you?
No. And then when I ended up after the Gordonston incident, I was thrown into a tumultuous world. I met his dad. The only one that I haven't met is Andrew. Right. Strangely enough. Right. Yeah, but you know. Again,
so when did you get put into care? Who put you into care? How did that happen?
It was a thing called the Children's Panel. It was like a children's court, and there was 3 notable citizens from the community, devout, upstanding, pre-Presbyterian, God-loving people that decided, no, I would be better off being served, locked up in a place where, with a whole bunch. I mean, you've seen Train Spotting. I was from the Outer Hebrides. again, I was the only boy in a class of 10 girls all the way through school. Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, it's true. I mean, the first school I had, there was 12 of us. Me and the girl next door, Mary, with long ginger hair down to her waist, who hit me across the head with a rock once, but that's beside the point. There was 2 of us. We went to the second school, there was 40 of us. I was the only boy in a class of 10 girls. And because the fact that I was going out in the fishing boat and checking the salmon nets when I was 5, 6 years of age. I had a pet dolphin. I had a dog called Lassie. And you get me.
So you were growing up in the wilds of the Outer Hebrides, and you just had a spirit of freedom.
It was paradise. It was an idyllic childhood. It was perfection up until the morning cloud arrived and a whole bunch of other crazy shit started happening.
So you saw that there was, because islands and remote places are an absolute favorite. They're an absolute.
In those days, they didn't have television. There was one phone, and the phone box was in the center of the village, and the light was always like filled with fucking earwigs that would fall on you every time you went to make a phone call. But you know, it was in a way it was paradise, but in another way I grew up really, really sharp and fast. And by the time I was 8, I used to get letters addressed to me as master, and then that stopped, and I was, why is that? And I was asking people, but nobody could tell me, because a master was a good title to have in those days, because anybody that had the title master, like Master Mariner Robert Campbell, this guy had gone and been in the Navy through 2 wars, came back and died drunk in his mid-90s or whatever, but he was a master, and that was a token of respect in those places. You get me? Yeah. Because he was. Didn't matter what he did. He fell off rocks. He would be found drunk in fucking puddles. They would drag him home, put him into his chair, light his fire, and leave him. You know, and that was the way of it. And so, by the time I'd gone through, I'd run away, and I was good at talking to people. They called me glebe. Do you remember that word? That's a very old word.
I don't know that word.
It means that you're swift of tongue. You know, you've kissed the Blarney Stone and what have you.
Okay.
But
okay.
I was a natural at talking to anybody because I didn't see barriers. I mean, the thing is, Angela, right? We had Pakistanis that were winning medals for singing Gaelic songs in the mod. You know, like the Eisteddfod they have in Wales. Yeah. In Scotland, it's called the mod. And we had Pakistanis singing Gaelic songs and winning medals. So we didn't see skin, race, division as anything. We were just, hey, you're here, I'm here, we're here. Let's get on with it,
Okay.
And so then.
So do you think being put in a children's home was directly related to that you were kind of smart-witted and you'd seen the morning cloud come in, and you'd seen Jimmy Savile's carry-ons, you'd seen a girl, 14-year-old in the village, kind of just disappear, and then you saw what was going on in the basement of Gordonstown. Do you think that is what got you put in a children's home?
They tried to destroy me, and they very nearly succeeded. There was once I contemplated suicide. That's when I was in Borstal at the age of 16. But
so your life went kind of chaotic.
You better believe it, dude. Again, without going into details, I mean, this is like.
Okay, I don't need to know everything. Sorry, it's my brain. I like to understand how. I like to understand how people get from A to Z.
It's like the Village of the Damned, and where there's like about 30 people crammed into a tin church on a Sunday evening, all singing praises to God, and then 20 minutes later they're out doing things with animals because they're Masons.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you also knew President Trump's family, his Scottish...
I delivered milk to them. They live in Tong. Tongue. It's in the Isle of Lewis. Her name's Mary. She left in 1916 to go and find herself a better life in America, and she did.
Wow.
She brought up a whole. Do you know that Donald Trump's older sister? She's a 9th Circuit judge. Okay, the Trump family, all of them are beautiful fucking individuals. They're not fucking satanic. They're not Illuminati. They're not lizards. They are really well brought up, solid, truthful, sound-based individuals. Donnie doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. His sister, 9th Circuit judge, the entire family. If you even go back into the whole Tesla thing with his uncle and shit like that, but dude, that's not important. What is important is that God assigned him to be put into the role that he's playing today, whatever role he is. None of us are here by accident, and it's the creator, the big G-O-D, the matrix maker, that decides what happens to us all at any given moment. And so,
right. So the people that you grew up knowing, what were they to, because Donald Trump's mother left and went to America, right?
Mhm.
So who was left behind? You're talking her siblings.
Yeah, all of good. There's about 30, 40 of his, well, two generations down of 30 or 40. When her mother left, there was like about 8 of them in the house in Tong Tongue, the Isle of Lewis, not Tongue, Tongue, like, you know.
Yeah, Tongue, yeah.
Like, yeah. So, yeah, and I, like I said, I used to, they all know me. In fact, the funny thing is, it was only yesterday that the dairy that I used to work for, instead of going to school, because I didn't really need to go to school, because when I ran away, they took me back and they did the IQ test. I was kind of clever, and I was supposed to sit my O levels and my A levels the same day in Aberdeen University.
Wow.
When I was 14, 15. But unfortunately, the governor of Porterfield Prison in Inverness, special appearance, sir, I want to request permission to go to Aberdeen. No, we can't afford a guy to go with you handcuffed on a train for 2 hours to sit your O levels. Nah. You'll get a driver when you get out of here. And that was the end of my education, because when I got out, I didn't want to go back to school. Do you know what I mean? It didn't really matter.
Yeah, much older. Yeah. So
And
how long did you spend in Borstal or prison?
8.3. I got out early. I got out after 8.5 months because I was exemplary, because I didn't have a problem with the establishment. I didn't have a problem with individuals. I wasn't antisocial. I wasn't a fucking deviant. I was just angry because everything around me was a lie and people were not acknowledging the lie. It's like today, you know, they're just like buried. No, I can't acknowledge this truth, because if I do, then it's cognitive dissonance. And so they wear their suits, they wear their whistles, and they get out of their prison sticks and beat you on command, because that's what they're paid to do and that's what they were trained to do. And they thought they were doing the right thing.
So 8 months, that's pretty good, pretty short time. So then
they phased out Borstal on the 22nd of November 1984. So again, you see, I know my dates and my times, and it's a funny thing you mentioned the word McConnell. The guy that I met in Borstal that kind of like became my mentor, his name was Bob McConnell, and he taught me how to take Ford Cortina Mark III, and we drove the car into the workshop, and we had 9 months. We had to take the whole car apart, and I'm talking about every single screw, the windows, the engine. We had to lay it out on the fucking ground. Then we had to put it back together again and drive it out. And if you did that by the end of 9 months, you got the City and Guilds, the RTITB, a whole bunch of MOTEC certification. And I excelled at that because I've been working on cars since I could handle a spanner. And so his name was McConnell, and that's why I like the name McConnell, which leads us into a whole different category. But I don't know where you want to go with this or how far you want to.
My second car was a Mark I Ford Cortina.
Oh yes, dude,
that was great.
Interchangeable. You can swap an engine out of them in 2 hours.
I had a brother-in-law that was kind of handy with cars, but he would only fix it if I would learn what he was doing. So like, he would, you know, and I was trying to play, you know, oh, I can't do it, just do it. And he'd be like, no, I'm only going to do it if you sit and watch and learn what I'm doing, you know. So if I ever kind of broke down on the roadside, you know, and somebody would stop thinking, oh, helpless female, I'd be able to tell them what was wrong and kind of take the spark plugs out and dry them, put them back and this and that. I drove it until a horrible policeman, I drove it to Brighton one day.
Never been to Brighton. Not yet.
Yeah, I had it at university in Warwick, and I used to drive it home to Wiltshire, and I used to drive it to my sister and brother-in-law in Cheltenham. But for some reason, I decided to go to Brighton, and there was a copper out training traffic corps. So he just was like, let me show you how it's done, boys. And he just threw the book at me. He just literally, and I'm like, please don't do this. And he's like, and I'm like, this is my car and blah, blah, blah. And I need it for college, you know, university and blah, blah, blah. And he says, oh, I've got a biro with no ink in it. I could sell you that if you like. And he was just showing off to the boys. And the fine I got in Lewis Crown Court, well, County
really?
Court, where it was. Lewis something
no, dude, that's an 1881 and a half.
They fined me the value. They fined me the value of my car.
Bastard.
They fined me exactly what the card cost me. I thought, you absolute. So that was the
Yeah.
end of my Mark 1 Ford Cortina, but they just drive forever. But that was just a little digression.
They
So
do.
yeah, tell me, because like I prayed for Donald Trump, you know, running up to the 2016 election, and
Mhm.
I very faithfully believed in him, and he's a wonderful speaker. He's one of the greatest orators, I would
Yeah.
say, of the last century and this
Back.
one.
And yeah.
And I have to say, I'm not in that same place anymore. I was persistently contacted by somebody talking about an alleged victim of his, Katie Johnson, and I tried to interview
Oh.
her, but she was kind of swept up by, she was chased down by attorneys, and I believe she took a settlement in the end. But it's
Okay.
it was almost too good to be true to believe that somebody could reach the high office of President of the United States of America and not be compromised in some way or another. So
Yeah.
tell me, first of all, let's rewind to the field. Have I seen you on Field McConnell? I used to follow Abel Danger. Have I seen you around Field McConnell's work?
I met Field McConnell back in whatever, 2014, 2015. I would sit there and David Hawkins, Field McConnell, they did a plethora of awesome factual information regarding 9/11, regarding the momentum of aeroplanes. And this is the reason I ended up liking Field McConnell, Angela, because I know how to fly, okay? And I have fun. And so I knew that the whole 9/11 thing was a charade. It was a farce. It couldn't fucking happen. Planes cannot go that fast at ground level. It's a simple fact. The wings get ripped off, okay? Doesn't get any more complicated than that. Field McConnell was telling the world, David Hawkins, and yeah, I got caught up and carried away in that. David Hawkins decided to like go and meet this guy called Jason Goodman, who's another.
He jumped ship,
he
got poached in a way.
Jason Goodman's and his cousin, who could actually be the same individual because they do look kind of like, is Brian Singer, I think his name is. But anyway, that was like a complete no.
Wait a minute. Brian Singer is Jason Goodman's cousin.
Yeah.
Wow, I never knew that. Jason Goodman interviewed me twice.
I did a 6-minute 45 video rant on the fucking Abel Danger show, and that became an instant hit on YouTube. The 14,000 views within the next day.
Do you still have that?
No, I don't. Listen, they wiped Field McConnell off the internet. The only if you type in Field McConnell and Gobsmack, you'll probably find the only video that I've still got is actually one of my videos on the 19th of January 2019, because we all met up in Llangollen in Wales. Okay.
Yeah.
But beforehand, when David Hawkins left, Field McConnell was in the doldrums. He had 3,000 viewers a week. I started talking to him because I'd met him by this time live up in Milton Keynes. So me and him started doing the shows, and pretty soon we were up to 45, 70,000 twice a week. Every show we did was getting that many hits. Okay.
Okay. And you're not the guy that did Kirk's Corner legal.
No. That's the Satanist that brought the whole thing down. And his friend, Angela, his friend Greg Hallett got shot by some girl that he actually had a physical encounter with, or he took money off her by promise. Listen, this is the important thing, right? This goes back to being the master when you're 8 years of age. Okay.
Yeah,
under Genesis
I'm really interested in this.
Under Genesis 1:26, God gave us the authority over the land, the air, the water. That is the law. Okay.
Yep.
The birds, the fowl, the fish, the sea, and everything that creepeth and crawleth, you have dominion over it, because I am God and I have granted you this. And then you get corporations, which are corpses, dead things. Kirk Hallett, Kirk Pendergrass, they thought that they could beat the devil using the devil's old game without telling the devil, I know you're the devil. And that's why it was doomed to failure. And they brought them in after. Long story short, me and Phil started doing the shows. The audience went through the roof because I was telling everybody, listen, See the birth certificate. If you want your child back, you just write to the fucking Vatican or write to the government and say, this is my property, it's not yours. This is my birth certificate, it's not yours. I've had it stamped, authenticated, notarized in maritime admiralty law to comply with your pretend fictional strawman game. Yeah, you play by their rules. That's what defeats them. Yeah, you beat them by their own rules. But I started doing this, and then all of a sudden, it went three-dimensional. We did the whole thing in Wales. Phil McConnell says to me one day, right, will you write a book? And I said, yeah, I'll write a book. We sold 25,000 quid's worth between 5:15 and 7 o'clock on a Thursday night.
Was this the project where he was raising 100,000 for, or he took advance orders for a book? It kind of collapsed. I remember towards the end of his broadcast.
That's exactly what the book thing is. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm the one. It was like I said, 5:15. He says, "Hey, Gobsmack, will you write a book about this?" And I said, "Yeah, sure."
Gobsmack. Now I know you. Now I know you. Gobsmack. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
By 7 o'clock that night, we had $25,000 hard cash in the PayPal account without even trying. Okay.
That's right.
I was wanting to sell it for $5. He said 50. That's all I'm saying about that, and that's a true story between me and my creator. It's not
that's
about
okay.
profit. It's about
that's okay.
and getting people informed. So,
and did the book ever get written?
Yeah, I sent him the book. He wouldn't publish it.
Wow. Why?
It's too simple. It's black and white.
Wow.
Once you dispel all the myths, all that's left is Toto to pull the curtain back and see the wizardry behind the machinery. And
this is why I like simplicity. I like this is why I break things down.
Angela, Genesis 1:26 says it all. Yeah, you're the boss. Screw the Vatican that created Unum Sanctum. Pope Boniface wrote a piece of paper in 1302 on dried children's skin saying, "Hey, I'm Christ fucking vice regent on earth. I own everything. I own the butterflies. I own the butterfly farts. I own the air. I own, and see people, I own you physically, spiritually, and temporally." Okay. So if you're Bill Gates and you create Microsoft, you don't own it. You're my chattel. I fucking own it. And that's the Pope. That was Unum Sanctum 1302.
Do you know Bill Gates' Microsoft is based in Israel now? There's a big thing about all of intelligence is sold through back doors.
Angela, the whole every Intel chip and every computer has been created in Israel. All the antivirus software, the back of it all goes through Israel. Hi Mossad, mwah, love you guys.
And then Israel is sharing it with China. There's some funny allegiances formed. Because even with Iran, you know, the Belt and Road thing, I've studied this a little bit. Brendan O'Connell is an expert on that. But even the Belt and Road thing now, there's because it's coming up to into the public arena, there's now a competitive thing to kind of knock the Belt and Road out of its position of power. The power games going on are phenomenal. But so one of the things that took Field down, well, one of the I'm shocked but not shocked. I never could relate to Kirk and the Law Corner. I go by instinct, and if I can't listen to someone, it's like it's not resonating with me.
He was selling legalese nonsense. Okay.
Yeah, it got too complicated.
You can't beat the devil with his own toolbox. The first thing you have to do is, like I did, and anybody that wants to really, find out my past, all my paperwork's been on the internet since 2015. I've written affidavits to the Pope, the Queen, the Donald Trump, no, not Donald Trump, Tony Blair, David Cameron, Gordon Brown, Theresa May, and there's 4 offices in Whitehall. But I said, you don't own me. I'm not playing your game. I am Genesis 1:26. Okay. And that takes you out of the system, but it's like I said, you put your head above the parapet, but you're going
to get some backlash.
If you believe in God, you stand up for it. Yeah, you ain't going to let the fucking devil run over you, because
it still takes a lot of courage. I believe in God, and I've a lot of people consider my work brave, but I get scared sometimes. Still, I've suffered a lot, and my family have suffered a lot with the backlash.
Family, again, this is why I was reluctant to be on cam, because they didn't come after me, because God's got me covered. God's my co-pilot. I don't look to the side of me, and I'm not worried about what's behind me, because when I stop breathing, it's like a leaf falling. It's part of his plan. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got limited free will. Okay. And that's the way that I've always believed that it worked. And it took me a long time to realize this. You better believe it took me a long time to realize this. But see, when I did, oh man, the heavens opened. And then I met Tony Blair on television on Question Time, December 1997.
He's a very wicked man, in my opinion.
Oh,
very,
you better believe it. You better believe it.
Yeah. The last foreign meeting that Bill Clinton had before he finished being president, he met Tony Blair at my old university of Warwick.
Oh,
and that was a hotbed university for breeding, for social engineering projects and for filtering people into the United Nations. A lot of my peers.
That's what I know, Angela. You're spot on. This is what the universe do. They take the weeds out of the chaff, and the ones that they can control and they can groom, they can put into positions of authority, even if it does involve trips to Epstein Island and so on and so forth.
There was a huge amount of that going on at Warwick. Yeah. And there was somebody there that her family have to have known Jimmy Savile and that dodgy mayor as well. There was a girl called Rose DeWend Fenton, and she went on to create Rose DeWend Fenton. They had a stately home in Scarborough.
Yeah, sorry, girl.
We got invited.
I'm paying attention here. I'm not just pretending to listen, because the DeWitt family, but Fenton, I don't know that name, but carry on. Forgive me for interrupting.
Well, I won't digress too much. I get told off for talking too much, but I like a chat rather than an interview. But I went to the stately home in Scarborough of the DeWend Fentons. It was quite surreal. And the father was an absolute character, but he was renowned for selling off the family, treasures, and then disappearing to their villa in Greece for 6 months, and not come home again until he'd spent, the precious artwork he'd sold or whatever. He was hilarious. They used to hide his clothes to stop him doing a disappearing act. They used to leave him running around in +4s, like thermal underwear. Awesome. And I remember there was about 6 of us from university invited that weekend for an opera, Dido and Aeneas in the Gardens, to raise money to fix the roof, because he kept spending the family fortune. And he came and woke us all up at 3 or 4 in the morning. Quick, the sheep are in the vegetable gardens. Quick, get out of bed. Come and help. And we all had to chase this guy in his +4s to get the sheep back out of the garden. It was hilarious. But she got an MBE. She went on to start the London International Festival of Theatre, and she got an MBE. And I just wish I knew then what I know now, because I would have asked her, what do you know about abuse? What do you know about Jimmy Savile? What do you know about the mayor? What does your dad know about these people? What do you know about strange parties? It's
I do believe that Savile was a petard. He was a royal bastard, like Peter Sellers.
Oh, right. I didn't know that about Peter Sellers, but he was somebody I was incredibly averse to. Everybody loved the Pink Panther, and I was like, I can't watch that guy. I just have an inbuilt kind of alarm bell that goes off. And the other funny thing, just before we carry on, was just this thing. I know it says in the Bible that God gave us dominion. And so if I had a horse, like I bred a stallion, I didn't get him gelded for quite a while. And I could walk in a field in my slippers with a halter, a head collar, and bring him out of a field with 8 mares in the field. And even my father, who's a horse whisperer, would say, how did you do that? But I remember quoting that scripture. And even when I was swimming in the sea off of Lanzarote, and I was scared because of all the baby sharks and stuff in there. And I would say to myself, I have dominion over the fowl of the air and the fish in the sea. And like a young wild stallion, I have dominion. And
exactly. And that's true. The innocence of truth. Yeah. Again, if you're vibrating at the right frequency, animals love you. Children love you.
They do. And they know.
Yeah, exactly.
But I just wanted to focus back in on, you wrote the book. I believe it was said that 100,000 had come in pre-orders.
Listen, there are still people arguing today over the accountancy part of it. But the fact of the matter is that when all this was going on, right, Angela, I've met you. I don't know, you've heard of Area 51. The family that owned Area 51 before the government fucking stole the property. They're called the Sheehan clan, okay? Guess where they came from? But that's beside the point. Anyway, Martha.
Oh, right. Where did they come from?
Down Corkway.
Yeah, because I've got friends that are Sheehans, actually.
Yeah, of course you do. So the Sheehan clan, Martha, my friend, she's, I don't know, 70s, 80s, I don't care. Her and another woman that used to run a PR company for a major American radio station. I says to them, listen, girls, you're my witnesses in every email. So everything that ever transpired, because if you go, I mean, if the Able Danger shows were back, I was like, for complete transparency. We should be able to go online just now and see every single MP's expenses, what he spent today, where he's gone, paper clips. There's no reason why not. We've got the internet, open bloody source technology. We're paying these idiots to go in and get corrupted so they can buy second, third houses, hand out quango deals to their friends, as we know that's been going on since the year.
And I never experienced Field as a con man. I think he had enough money of his own between his pension and his car collection and his beautiful home. I don't think he needed to be a charlatan. So I don't know what went. I think he got infiltrated. You say Kirk was an infiltrator.
No. I think do you know who the one that came in that caused it all was Timothy?
Yes, Charles Homestead.
Okay.
Yeah, that was very sad.
Up until then, once upon a time, Field brandished his swords, and I says, Field, do not fucking be brandishing weapons on cam on the internet. It's a fucking no-no. Okay? Because that signifies that you're prepared to resort to violence. That's not a given, okay? You want to teach the people, you don't do, and all of a sudden, TCH comes in and he's handing out fucking guns to go protect this woman's baby, and he's sending out evidences. And I met the guy that he sent out with a handgun to go and rescue the other woman. Again, that's the whole internet legend in itself, because the names and the videos are out there. But the day that TCH came in, the day that TCH came in, I says, Field, I'm out of this. Because you're talking bollocks, you're advocating fucking nothing to do with me.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Field's show was groundbreaking in what he actually got away with on the internet for years. And one of the most powerful things he used was comedy.
Jumping about in the pink pants with the wigs and the guitars and the saxophones.
But it went horribly wrong. He got infiltrated. It went horribly wrong.
And he got infiltrated in Wales. That's when it happened. And
wow.
Girl, listen, you've seen the X-Files. This couple allegedly arrived from Utah, and they're both dressed identically, almost in the suits, only she's a woman, she's wearing the same cloth jacket as her husband. They were Mormons, but they were also high up in the oligarchy of the Mormon church, because the Mormon church run more than most people will ever acknowledge, and they do, and that's a fact.
Absolutely.
The Mormon church, Utah was the only state through the Great Depression. Utah was the only state that didn't ask the government for a cent, because they were well provided for. So that's leaving more clues than I could. But again, my friend Barbara, who's Barbara? Martha from Area 51. Her family went there in 1876. They dug gold, they struck gold. They were making $1 million a year in 1915, 1916, 1917. Through the middle of the war, that mine was making $1 million a year. Okay. So the American government thought, oh no, we can't have that. We need to take that shit over.
Oh.
And that's what happened.
So they stole the land.
They stole the land. Dude, the last claim, they offered them like, I don't know, 155 million compensation about a year ago. The family says, wrong. So I'm still busy involved in writing legal papers for that, because a corporation, the United States Army didn't exist when Bob Sheehan signed a piece of paper in 1876. So he's got superior title. Yeah. The army came along, steamroller, and said, no, we need this as national security, because we got aliens, we got greys, and a whole bunch of like future fucking whatever lies. But it was all about the minerals underneath the ground, plain and simple. That's what it's all about.
Wow. I never knew that.
Yeah, I know. I would like to introduce you to Martha. She's got they used to come along in jets. They blew up their bloody barn. They used to shoot at them when they were running across the ground to get them off the land, because that's what they were doing.
So like, they tried with those What were those Mormons that they tried to run off the land and it became a standoff?
Oh, but the Bundy, was it?
Yeah,
the
the Bundy Ranch.
Yeah.
But they,
Again, to be honest with you, my dear, I think that was completely televised and staged. I do.
you think that was
I'm
staged?
sorry.
That's
Yeah,
possible.
I do. I think it was all just true. Hello, this is Big Brother teaching you you can't fuck with Big Brother does. Guess what's going to happen?
Yeah.
That's what that was all about. It was a psychological, everything that we see in the media, the red flags. Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I saw a very funny video. I'm trying to keep this YouTube friendly, but I saw a very funny video a couple of days ago where Nathan Stoltman, he talks to AI, which you can do. I'm not that interested, but you can talk to artificial intelligence bots online. And he had one tell him that the SH, let's call it that, the thing that, what's his name, got thrown off, David, no, what's that guy, the one that talks crazy? Gosh,
David Icke?
No, not David Icke, the one that had the big show in America and he got thrown off YouTube. Oh, the one that people think is a comedian and he's reincarnated. Alex Jones.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
Alex Jones got actually sued for saying this, but artificial intelligence said to Nathan Stoltman, and he's posted the whole interaction where they said there is no evidence that any such thing took place.
Can I tell you another true story?
Yeah. As long as it's YouTube friendly, we're talking.
Dude, it's completely YouTube friendly. Once
all right, go ahead.
I got an email from The Economist magazine. I don't know if you've heard of The Economist magazine.
Yeah, of course I have. Yeah.
It's a prestigious, and basically they sent along a chauffeur-driven limousine to collect me from Redchurch Street in E2 in London from my office. They took me down to a TV centre in the middle of London. I went into the room with this guy. And this guy was another Scotsman. I was dressed in a fisherman's jumper and a pair of jeans because I obviously dressed to impress. So anyway, this guy that I was with from Scotland, he was in charge of the nuclear codes on the fucking submarines in Fastlane. Wow. I'm thinking to myself, wow, what the fuck am I doing here with this guy? So anyway, they put us in this room. There's microphones on the table. There's cameras. There's a two-way fucking mirror. And there's a telephone that you need to stand on the furniture to answer this telephone, which did ring in the middle of the interview. So that was another psychological test. But anyway, they paid me 150 quid back in 1997. It was like not bad for fucking 30 minutes work. And a chauffeur-driven limousine, because they says, hey, Gobby, we noticed that you've been interacting with this thing called the internet, which just basically started a year beforehand. Where do you think that the future of it lies? So they paid me money to go in there and tell them that.
Wow.
And then they gave me free subscription for the rest of my life.
Wow. But, and what free subscription, it's like fortune telling.
Angela, can I just say another thing?
Absolutely.
Anybody that wants to find out my identity, my older brother, he compiles the Scottish University exams in 23 computer programming languages.
Wow.
And I'm the dumb one because I am the black sheep. Like you said, I arrived at 12 to tell Jimmy Savile that he was a cunt. Bad. Sorry, forgive me.
No, it's okay.
YouTube, cancel that one.
No, they're fine. Actually, I just did an interview a couple of days ago with somebody, and it got through, even though we went very close to the line a few times, and I got a notification that it was fine with YouTube to put it up. But now she's having collywobbles. Oh, maybe she should let her attorney check it first, and maybe she should let her friend's attorney check it, and blah blah blah. And it's like,
do you know what I did Do you know what I went a couple of weeks ago, Angela? I went to the Supreme Court. I walked down past Downing Street because it's been a long time since I've been in the town centre. First place I went to was the DWP offices, and I walked in and I says, hi guys, can you give me your public liability bond insurance number and your company registration details? Because I've asked you 165 times through official sources, and nobody here seems to know who you work for. Are you a government department or are you a private corporation working on behalf of? All of a sudden, the man came down from all the stairs. Hello, sit me down. What's your problem? Yeah. We'll sort it. Please don't, just don't do this again. So anyway, from there, I then went across to the House of Commons where I walked past all the men with machine guns and armed guards and body armor in case somebody like wanted to fucking hit Boris Johnson about the head with a hockey bat. And I got to the guy and I says, yeah, listen, I'm here. And he said, yeah, you can go in. But I didn't, because I knew my MP wouldn't be there, because he's one of the hierarchy. He works for Tottenham. Google that. I know his name, but you do too. So I didn't even go in. But then I went to the Supreme Court. I walked into the Supreme Court, went through all the body X-ray machinery, stripped down to my underwear, but didn't get the anal cavity search, which was disappointing, but we can always hope. And I spoke to the staff, and fortunately, it was all recorded. We had a good encounter, and they told me, no, you need to go through the Royal Courts of Justice before you can bring a problem here. I says, okay, I'll be back.
The thing is, I try not to involve myself too much with the league. My thing is exposing pedophile rings and organized networks and so on, like, as well as telling my own MK Ultra history. And I just find myself trying to, because I doubt, I'm 65, I doubt I'm going to get justice, you know. I mean, I tried. I had a 6-month investigation.
Angela, listen, and everybody, listen, this is important. This is secret words for everybody that understands anything about this. You do not get remedy in this lifetime. God is the only remedy.
Yeah, that's my conclusion.
You can get restitution, you can get relief, but do not ask for remedy, because the minute you ask for remedy, you're saying, oh, I'm just a Dumbo, because God's the only remedy. They can't provide remedy. They can only fucking prolong the lie. Do you get me?
Yeah, so I don't extend a lot of energy on the, you know, maritime and corporations and consent and so on, until I had to, because I got raided. I got 5 detectives showed up and took my PC, 2 laptops, phone, iPad, the whole lot.
Yeah.
I still never got them back. This was back in 2017. And I decided to get brave. Like for a while, for about, I guess I lived in fear for maybe 6 weeks. And then I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to live in fear. It's not a nice place to live and I can't function.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to be brave and come what may. I just faced the possibility that, you know, as they do with whistleblowers, they could put me in jail. And once I faced that fear and said, well, okay, if, you know, I know you'll be there with me, God. So, all right, I'll face my fear. And then Baron David Ward helped me. God
bless his soul.
I submitted affidavits to the DPP and the chief of police and the detective that, 2 of the detectives that raided my house. And I did, he just guided me. And it was enough to get them to, well, other than that, and the fact that I was telling the truth. Yeah, I was telling the truth. The person, alleged cult leader that said I was harassing him online, he had actually put his children back in the public arena himself. He put them on an international promotional video. Oh, Lord. And I wrote a blog about it, but I used the fake names that they were using. But his own reputation rescue company, they said the next day, oh, Angie Power Disney's released the children back into the public arena, blah, 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 blah. And that's why I got arrested. No, I didn't get arrested. I just got raided and I went in of my own free will. And when I figured out, oh, it's the blog. And I said, well, you know what? I didn't name either the father or the children.
It's a Hampstead thing.
So they basically concluded, you know what, the father shot himself in the foot here, and his own reputation rescue company, they outed him the next day by going at Angie. So between Baron David's work and the fact that it wasn't me that named the children or even put them back in the public arena, it was the father. Yeah. There was never any further action, but I never got my stuff back, you know.
Dude, I've been reading a couple of times. 9 of them appeared with a fucking bat in one day. Why? I was complaining like fuck to the Scottish Parliament because they'd wasted a whole bunch of millions on a fucking fake wooden building at the end of the Royal Mile. And you see, the thing is, Angela, the Royal Mile isn't a standard mile. This is all to do with like the whole Illuminati geography and a whole bunch of stuff. Okay.
The Royal Mile in London?
No, in Edinburgh.
Oh, in Edinburgh, I beg your pardon, yeah. My ignorance.
I was complaining about the Scottish Parliament, I didn't get my computers back for 6 months after that one, but I got them back. But
I could probably get them back, but they wanted me to get them back through a court proceeding. And I did, and Baron David Ward, he was saying to me, you don't go into their pretend courts, you do everything on the paper.
It's a part, dude, it's a fiction, it's a farce. You write on a piece of paper, hi Judge, can you give me your bond number? Because guess what? If you pretend that you've got authority over me, I'm going to sue the living shit out of you.
Yeah, I know.
That makes it go away.
So I know, and I did learn enough from Baron David to keep myself safe, you know, and a lot of people, so many people have said, you must be an agent because you've never been arrested. You know, the worst that happened to you is you got raided.
It's like I said, they've had my computers for 5 years. I wrote them a letter the next day saying every day that you keep my computers is £1,000 a day. And that was 5 years ago. And I sent a letter to the chief constable. Chief constable, did you ever watch that one with Martin Shaw, the chief? Okay. There's a lot, you see, they have to hide secrets in plain sight. They do. They do. They have to like show the people, this is how you're being bumped. But well, it's just drama and it's on the TV. But I wrote to the chief constable the next day, it says £1,000 a day. You guys, 9 of them came in, they climbed in through the top story window. I was sitting on the computer on cam like I am just now, on the world's first chat program, Pal Talk, which started the whole video revolution. And they came in, they took all my stuff, they questioned me, they let me go because what could they do?
Yeah,
I did tell them about the whole Gordonson thing in the royal family. No, we don't want to hear that. We don't want to be hearing that.
That's one way to end an interview.
You're a threat to the government. You're a threat to the establishment. So we are here to scare the living shit out of you. I said, yeah, go for it. You know? What can you do? What can you do? Hello?
When they come to the door and if it has to be recorded or if we're recording, I do that. I disclose about bent cops and pedo rings and local issues.
Exactly. I hope you're recording this. Oh, well, unfortunately, your officer switched off his camera about 3 seconds before they kicked the door in.
Oh gosh.
I'm doing
anyway.
That's a court case for the future. That's one that I've got in the back pocket just for fun. If you get
the court case thing. I only looked into that because it concerned me, and I was thinking that I was hearing somebody this morning saying, "How come, you know, you can get hundreds of thousands of people on the streets for health issues or for, you know, freedom marches, but when it's for children, it's very hard to get even 30 to 50 people out, you know. And the thing that was crossing my mind was people won't realize until it's their children, but it already is, that there's a minister in our government in the Republic of Ireland. She's just announced that they're probably going to be introducing LGBTQI+ teaching for primary school children.
Dude, that is completely and absolutely.
And so all these adults that don't think it's relevant to hit the streets, you know, to do with children, it's like, what's it going to take to wake you up? You know, it's like, do you need literally the Pied Piper to come down your streets or the child catcher to come down, down your own street before you realize?
Angela, do you know what I did, right? My daughter, who I am proud to say is half African, I'm Scottish, she's half African. She is a lot, you know, a lot of Nazi people and that don't like that. But in her school, we sat in front of the school board of governors and said, hey, tell us about 5G frying their wicked eggs. They all shut up. Yeah. And they gave her leeway to be off school with bad periods anytime she choose. We ain't going to point, you know, they didn't question her again. She's saying, I'm not going to school because why? Every time I'm bleeding, it hurts. Why? 5G. Prove me wrong. They didn't. They shut up and they just let her off.
Wow. Yeah. They just excused her. Wow.
And you know what, Angela? As a result of that, she went to an all-girls school. There's like 1,200 of them. Okay, and there's like a couple of hundred of them gone to the same bandwagon, and they said, you know what? Your dad's like, and they listened and they're learned. You get me? They're 21, 22 years of age now, but they are well learned and well versed.
That's great. That's great. We can only do it.
It is. Yeah.
We can only educate a little bit at a time, but the greatest privilege is to
better than showing guns and swords and saying go out and harm people, or, you know, be prepared to do violence to somebody else to get your aim.
But there's a different mentality in America because guns are still legal. So in America, it's
guns
very much.
No, Angela, listen, guns are still legal in Britain too. Okay, 1688, 1689. You are dude. It's a God-given right to defend yourself. No fucking fake corporation called a government, called a pope, called a queen, called a king. They've got no control over you, dude. You're here under Genesis 1:26. Yeah. If somebody's going to come at me, guess what? If I have to kill them, then I will. And bring me before a grand jury, 25 people. Hello? If you're telling me,
I'm just going to, let me be a bit cynical here, like, because there's been grand juries, there's been people like Kevin and
Angela, there hasn't. I wish to God that there had been, because the people don't believe in it. Yeah. Ben Gilroy, there's a whole bunch of Stephen Manning, Dr. Stephen Manning.
I challenge
you know him.
I need to hold you 1 second. I challenged Stephen Manning because somebody I know went to his wife's requiem when she died and was kind of taken aback to discover that they were Moonies and they were married in a arranged Moonie marriage. And I've done a little bit of research on the Moonies, and I challenged him and I said, first of all, if the Moonies are everything they say they are, how come you're destitute on the death of your wife? You've no home for you and your disabled son, and you're literally penniless. If you're part of a church that has everything in common and is hugely wealthy, where's the support from your community? And secondly, why did you keep it a secret? You're holding yourself up to the Irish people that you're advocating for, everybody and the downtrodden, and you're breaking grounds and you're challenging the laws and this, that, and the other. But you've got this big secret, which is that you're a Moonie. Like the Moonies infiltrated the evangelical churches in cahoots with the CIA in America, and they poured millions into churches and still do, and they have secret meetings where you get all these senators and congressmen pledging their allegiance to the head of the Moonies. What's that? And so I'm fond of Ben Gilroy. I reached out to him once. There was a mother in jail. She was very brave, and they grabbed her, and he got her out. I called him at 10 at night, and by 12 noon the next day he had her out on a habeas corpus.
Ben's a good man. Ben is a good man.
I'm fond of Ben. Yeah.
But did Stephen Manning reply?
Yeah, he offered to brainwash me. He's like, oh, you sound very intelligent, like you're completely wrong, but the next time I'm in your area, I'll be happy to invite you to a talk, and then you'll understand. And it's like, no, I already understand, and I do feel that the very least you should do is, if you're trying to be a public figure for the Republic of Ireland, you need to tell people what your background and allegiance is.
What you believe. I believe in God, the one that created the Bible, the one that created the Quran, the one that created the Torah, the Talmud. No, that's a book.
No, the Talmud's a nightmare, absolute nightmare. Like so many teachings are. People are very quick to point out the Quran and the parts of the Quran that talk about it's okay to, hurt a child or molest a child or whatever.
No, dude.
But they're not.
Oh, Angela, stop. That's not in the Quran. That's in the fucking aftermath called the Hadith, when Muhammad allegedly married a 6-year-old. Dude, dude, this is like 283 years after that book was written. That's when the
so it's not in the Quran, it's in a later writing of the Prophet Muhammad. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Exactly. Angela, if you stick to God's truth, it becomes manifest if you believe in God. You'll know the crap, you'll know the wheat from the chaff. Does that make sense?
But the point I was making was that while people, while you're pointing one finger, there's 3 pointing back. And if people read the Talmud, it's very similar. It's like, it's not about which religion is the bad guys. It's like either your creator, you accept his gateway back to full relationship with him, which is his son. And for me, you have the Holy Spirit inside, and the Holy Spirit is like a truth radar. It's like,
we all know it. We all instinctively know what's right and wrong. We all do. Okay. We know innately, instinctively, depending on our mores or morals, the way we were brought up. But the majority of the Western civilization have been brought up to believe in something. Yeah. And that's the standard. So trust yourself, trust your creator. Yeah. You say, dude, it says in the Bible, seek and you shall find. If you don't go seeking, you ain't going to find. Ask him. And then you get the information, and it comes along in ways you can't imagine, through happenstance, circumstance, luck, fate, chance, probity, whatever. And then the boss speaks to you, and that's when you decide, do I actually stick with this or do I go with that? And that's the definitive line. And trust me, but Angela, when I was 5, one of my jobs, the mobile library used to come around every month. There's like a big man with like books in the back, and
I remember those.
The Dewey Decimal System. I used to put them back in their order, and I read every book in the library.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's why by the time I was 12, when they did the tests, I got high Q, bordering on Einstein's. What did they do? Yeah, here you go, jail cell. Here's a book called the Bible. Repent, you little shit.
Well, it's not bad advice. It's not bad advice.
Angela, that sums up. That sums up pretty concisely.
So let's just I don't want to go over an hour, but just sum up for me. No, we should do this again because we've only scratched the surface. But I sum up for me. Where are you at with Field McConnell? Did you become estranged? I made a video about when he made a deal and he made a public apology to KP, and then he was allowed to go back to Plum City, and he was even allowed limited access to the internet, but he still was brave. He went and did a 1-hour interview a week later, I think. And then I made
John B knows me. We've spoken.
Yeah, well, I made a.
I do not want to boast, but Anthony Schaefer, the guy that created the original label Danger, he was my friend on Twitter, and Scott Bennett, the Flynn Bros, the sons, the daughters, the cousins, the aunties, they liked what I talked about. Why?
I'm not too impressed with the Flynns.
But not me. Angela, girl. I'm not saying that they're right or wrong, because, girl, this is like an open scenario. We'll only find out when the truth becomes clear to us. But
next time we'll talk about the Q. Next time we'll talk about the 17th letter, because I followed that right from Defango.
No, you see, again,
Cicada 3301.
This is true story, right? Field
McConnell
says to me, "Hey, Gobby, what do you think about Q?" And I says, "Field, it's a fucking psyop. It's the fucking military. It's the government. They're playing mental Sudoku with the clever the clever people out there." And
Jerome Corsi bigging up Edmund Bernays, who was the author of Propaganda. It's like, come on, how real does this?
Yeah, let's all smoke.
But we'll save that for next time. But anyway, I made a video and I said that I suspected Timothy Charles Homseth had taken Field off course, and that I didn't believe Field was a con man for fundraising donations. He was very self-sufficient.
He wasn't.
And he sent me a personal message thanking me for my
I don't doubt that Field was not in it for the money. I wasn't in it for the money. David Hawkins wasn't in it for the money.
But there were some people that were.
Listen, Angela, we were getting 70,000 hits twice a week. They had to do something, because too many people were listening to Common Sense. I was like me, as I am to you just now on the Field McConnell shows. We didn't script this. Did we script this? Did we?
Not at all. I didn't even know your name. I didn't even know you were Gobsmack. I just knew there was something resonated when we briefly messaged on Facebook or whatever. And I thought that I know this person, even if I didn't know how I knew you. So that's why I made a mental note. I need to talk to him. So I'm really glad I did. And I think we should do a part 2, maybe in a week. I'd like to go through, there's more to go through, but do you want to just finish up on saying, are you estranged from Field? Do you guys talk, or is that just gone? Did it get soured?
It got soured because when Field McConnell walked into the Florida courtroom, in 5 minutes and 12 seconds, he said to the judge, "I understand."
Yes.
I understand. And that, what, Angela, Field, laters. because
I know, and
he
Baron
sold,
David Ward.
he sold a book. He sold a book that got a whole bunch of money coming into the coffers that was based on I do not understand you.
Yeah.
And Genesis 1:26.
So it comes
at
back
that moment, me and Phil McConnell, we still speak through, you know, Captain Dan Hanley, another beautiful guy, a pilot who lives in Pakistan. And he was a pilot. He got grounded because of 9/11. The FBI, every time he goes back to the States, they fucking hold him and interview him because he's telling the truth. Yeah, I'm a pilot. Dude, you can't fly that low. The fucking wings will come off.
I know.
Yeah,
And that's where Baron David Ward. Yeah, that's where Baron David Ward kept me straight. He kept me straight, and he navigated me. Sadly, he died. But he used to, even when I went and did a voluntary statement to find out what the hell this was all about, and I found out very quickly, but I wouldn't say I understand, you know, and I would say to them, I hear you. And they'd say, well, what do you mean you hear us? And I said, well, I'm just saying.
I acknowledge what you're saying, but
and they were like, oh, you know, and they're like, and I'm like, can I have a copy of this? Oh, well, when if it goes to trial, your solicitor will get a copy. And I said, I won't be hiring a solicitor. I'm not incompetent.
No, I don't need somebody. An attorney, somebody that talks for the dead. Anyway, Angela.
All right, listen, it was a pleasure.
Delight. Yeah, let's do this again sometime soon.
All right. God bless.
You're welcome.
Do you want to tell people how to contact you, or are you happy just?
Let's just see how this goes, okay? Because
all right, okay.
I've laid off the live streams for a while, but having said that,
well, this was enjoyable, and I could talk to you for another hour at least. So let's do another one. Okay, God bless.